night she gonna bed. Every day it's a new test. I just keep chasing these chicks. Living life with no regrets.
Welcome back to the Sled Talk show podcast. Guys, it's TSmith. What's up? If you're watching this on YouTube right now, you can probably obviously tell that it's just me riding this next episode solo. And we are also filming right now at 7:04 Friday morning. And if you've been listening to the last few podcasts, you know that every Friday at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, the next episode comes out. And we are running behind. So, yeah, we're going to film this one, and Jeff's going to get it edited and stuff, and we're going to get it out. So this one's going to be a little bit late. But regardless, we're in here in the office first thing this morning. This episode is brought to you by Mountain Ops Backcountry Blast, who sponsors this. Just kidding. Not yet. Mountain Ops. Product placement. Anyways, yeah, so first thing in the morning, we're ripping this first episode. Well, it's not the first episode. This is like, I don't even know. I think this will be 5. But anyways, so what I wanted to talk about in this podcast was, honestly, the last few that we've been putting out, we've been getting an overwhelming good positive response from a lot of people, which is awesome. I can't thank you guys enough for liking, downloading, following, subscribing, commenting, all of that great stuff. And it honestly really quickly turned into a lot of people that want to come on here. And so if you've seen the last few, you noticed that I interviewed good buddy Tom, good buddy Cody. And that's kind of like where I want to head with the podcast, is interviewing other writers, and just having them share their story, what they do, where they're from, all that good stuff, and related all to their passion of snowmobiling. And so very quickly here, I have amassed a list of quite a few individuals that want to come on here. And so we're going to keep that theme of doing the whole interview stuff. Some things are going to change as we go into season more and we start riding around in traveling and riding with different areas. The goal is to interview, people in those riding areas, the locals and whatnot. So yeah, we'll just have a whole lot of different faces and different people interviewing on here. So with that being said, I want to run this one solo to kind of set the tone. Not that I want to just sit here and talk about myself, because I don't really like that. But I think it's important at the same time to kind of lay the foundation or the backstory of who I am and, who's the face of SledSend. Because when I look at companies that, I want to buy their products from or utilize their services or whatever, I think it's important to know the basis of the company, who's behind it, all that kind of stuff, and build trust with that company. So yeah, without further ado, I'm just pretty much going to interview myself on this episode. And so, yeah, I've said a little bit about myself in especially the very first episode, but yeah, let's just go right into it with a little bit about who I am and what I do. So yeah, obviously my name is Tyler Smith. Most people just call me T-Smith. It's kind of my nickname. But I live here in Hermiston, Oregon, and boy, I've done a variety of different things since I've graduated high school, which was 10 years ago, in 2011. And since then, for work stuff, I've done a variety of different things. I started out doing operating heavy equipment over in Montana when I was living over there, specifically doing stream restoration. My dad is the number one most qualified person in the state of Montana for doing stream restoration. So we would rebuild, which my dad's still doing this today, but rebuilding rivers and creeks and ponds and wetlands and stuff for fish habitat, wildlife habitat, and all that kind of stuff. I did that for a couple years and then moved back over here to Oregon and worked for a different construction company running equipment and stuff. And since then, I bounced around doing a handful of different things. I used to, for a little bit, climb and build, communication towers. I worked at a Walmart distribution center. I did a variety of random things. I was farming for a little bit, digging potatoes here for one of my uncles. And then I went into working for a company called RDO. It's a John Deere company, so I was working there in the parts department and stuff for a little while. And then things changed for me through like 2017. While I was working that job at RDO, I had started my own company doing social media marketing, and I was able to leave RDO, a typical like 9 to 5 thing, February 2nd of 2018. And I've been working for myself ever since. So the last 4 or 5 years here, I was doing all the social media marketing agency stuff. I was doing a lot of professional drone stuff. I partnered with Jeff in like middle of 2018, Jeff? Yeah, middle of 2018, and been beside Jeff the entire time ever since. And for those of you that don't know by now, Jeff is the guy behind the camera doing all the audio, all the editing, all the content. And so, yeah, the last few years I've been doing that stuff. And recently in the last year or so, I transitioned into a couple of different things. So my main focus right now is I'm a licensed real estate agent here in the state of Oregon. And that's essentially like priority one. And then I have another company that I have a partner in that I'm doing Airbnbs and short-term rental stuff with. And that's taken off very nicely. So that's moving forward pretty well. And then, the next one in line is obviously SledSend. So SledSend is under its own LLC. I have a company for it and focused on all the social media growth, which obviously I'm just taking my skill set that I've learned over the last 4 or 5 years for social media marketing and utilizing that within the SledSend stuff, as well as utilizing that for all my own real estate, all the content creation, all the Facebook ads, all that kind of stuff, website, SEO, all that good stuff. Utilizing that for SledSend as well. SledSend is focused on merchandise, so I sell sweatshirts and hoodies. And sweatshirts and hoodies are kind of the same thing, and hats and beer koozies and all different kinds of stuff. And then this year we're starting the SledSend retreats, and so I'll talk about that briefly for a second. So the idea of, and the reason why I'm calling it a retreat and not a clinic is, so like you've got Caleb Kosturki and Chris Brandt and Dan Adams and all those guys, a bunch of others that hold those writing clinics, and I myself have not partaken in one of those yet. I will. But I think that, I can't really speak on it entirely because I've never actually been in one of those yet. But from afar, I think the difference between like what they have and what I'm doing is I am strictly just working with individuals that have never been on a sled before. And these types of individuals, like my demographic of clients, are other business owners and entrepreneurs that aren't necessarily investing into SledSend retreats to become a better rider. They're literally just investing into it to have an experience, an adrenaline rush, right? Like, sorry, these guys don't necessarily care about, advancing their skills within snowmobiling. They strictly just want to ride. Adrenaline rush. And, some of these guys, the first one that we're having in the first weekend of February, I got 5 guys coming up. 4 of them are from Austin, Texas, and 1 of them is from Phoenix, Arizona. So these guys are coming into a situation where, maybe, I think one of them is actually from New Hampshire, and I think he's been on a sled before. But, I think a handful of them have been snowboarding and whatnot, but, they're coming into a situation where they've never been into something like this. So I'm super excited for that. And we're going to keep pushing that a lot this year. Jeff's going to be on it. God damn, I'm sorry. RIP AirPod listeners. Just coughing in the mic like that. Jeff's going to be filming all of it, which is going to be super sick. So we'll capture everything, and then all those guys will be able to have their own videos and post that on their social feeds and whatnot. So that'll be super cool. But yeah, that's the idea behind SledSend, is, as far as like SledSend making money, is merch sales and then the retreat sales. So I'm really looking forward to the season. It's going to be a lot of fun. Got a lot of sick things planned. So that's the third focus company wise. Let's see, what else do I have? I have another company that is focused on credit repair. So for individuals that are like trying to buy a house or a car, or try to get funding to buy a new sled, whatever it is. And their credit is shit due to, derogatory marks, hard inquiries, bankruptcies, any of that kind of stuff. Come through me and get all that stuff removed, right, to increase your credit score. I also leverage that within my real estate stuff for individuals that are trying to get a better rate on their mortgage to buy a house with me. So that's kind of a double dipping thing there. But so yeah, the credit repair company, and then another company that's focused on e-commerce. It's not quite up and running yet, but it's still in the works. So I am managing, 3 or 4, 5 different things all at the same time. But my main priority is obviously real estate, the Airbnb stuff, and then SledSend for right now. Obviously SledSend is seasonal. So 3-4 months out of the year, but there's still a lot of other things on the back end that go into it year round. And it's my intention to maintain a lot of content throughout the year, not just during riding season and stuff. So, but yeah, that's pretty much, my focus is, being an entrepreneur and running multiple different things at the same time. And on top of that, I'm also engaged. I have a fiance, and I also have a 9-year-old daughter. So, managing the, not only the business stuff, but, family and the personal side of things. So yeah, I have a lot going on, but I love absolutely every single minute of it. Rule number 1 is trust the process, and I very much do so, right? Like, I trust the process in everything that I'm doing and the direction that I am heading. So that's like a little bit about me and everything that I do. Another big piece of me is I'm very heavily invested into personal development. I'm a part of a brotherhood called Wake Up Wealthy, founded by Brody Kern, really good friend of mine, who is also one of the guys that is coming up to ride the first weekend of February. And the personal development is something that really is really, really important to me. I focus on, so within Wake Up Wealthy, we have the 4 core pillars, so mind, body, spirit, business. And I focus on those things every single day of my life. But yeah, that's a little bit about the personal side for me, but let's take all of that and kind of talk about, honestly, why you guys are here, snowmobiling, right? And so, snowmobiling for me, I've been riding. I mean, the first time I rode, I was really, really young. I don't know, 5 or 6 or something. But I didn't get really, really serious into it until the last couple of years. I've ridden a ton, throughout my life, but I really got serious and dedicated to it here the last couple years. And it's just something that has honestly turned into an obsession for me, which again, I think a lot of riders, snowmobilers can relate to that, the passion, the obsession, all that kind of stuff. And that's what it is for me. I mentioned this, I think in previous podcasts or whatever, but I don't really have any other hobbies necessarily. I used to growing up, especially living in Montana and stuff, hunting and fishing and all that kind of stuff. I don't partake in any of that kind of stuff anymore. Literally, I focus on my businesses. I love to travel and snowmobile, and that's it. And obviously spending time with family and my daughter and all that kind of stuff is mixed into all of that. But as far as doing things, business, travel, and snowmobiling. And so it's also the reason why I'm so heavily invested into the snowmobiling stuff, because I don't put money towards anything else, as far as a hobby, right? So yeah, the idea of SledSend kind of just birthed out of that obsession, and the fact that I have been doing stuff within social media and the marketing and all that stuff for so long, I was like, why not just utilize this skill set for myself? It's honestly kind of a contributor into the real estate stuff as well. I used to have real estate clients, and people would throw a fit about getting on camera and struggle with all that kind of stuff. So I just said, screw it, I'm just going to do this myself. That was a lead into the real estate stuff, the Airbnb stuff even as well, but especially all of the snowmobile stuff. And so with that being said too, why the podcast? This honestly, I've been doing stuff on several platforms. We're at SledSend on YouTube, and TikTok, on Facebook, and on Instagram. And, I kind of just had the idea of like, well, why don't I start a podcast for snowmobiling and get me on one other platform? And so, yeah, we acquired all of the gear to do the podcast. And again, luckily enough, I'm partnered with Jeff, so he's got all the camera stuff and the knowledge and expertise in this area to really put out something really great. And did the first one, and then brought Tom and Cody on, and then next thing you know, it's like, holy crap. We have gotten a lot of really good feedback from a lot of people, and I'm excited for where it's going. And honestly, too, it's funny because, the podcast stuff is really blown up. A lot of people are doing it, and I think it's great. And so, yeah, we're going to take the podcast as far as we possibly can, bring on as many people as possible. I think it's fun. I think it's great. And it's also super entertaining, right? You bring on people that have pretty funny stories. If you watch earlier episodes, Tom, dude, he's pretty funny. He's got a lot of really good, crazy stories. Dude's an excellent writer. But he's definitely like not afraid to take some risks and send it. And, sure, he's got some funny stories and some crashes and some stupid things that, wrecking the sled or whatever, but he's learning from those things. And so I think it's important for, us to expand the audience and for more people to share. I had a buddy call me last night, actually, who wants to be on the podcast, and he was listening to one of the previous episodes where I was talking to Tom and Cody about how I was going to take an avalanche course this year. And this buddy of mine was listening to it, and he was like, dude, I've been in an avalanche before, and I take that shit very, very seriously, and I think it would be really good to share my story about that. And I told him, I was like, yeah, let's get you on here and talk about those things. And so, like, that's the idea of the podcast, is for people to, share the story, share the knowledge, and have the listeners be able to learn some things from other individuals, plus just, obviously the funny stories and whatnot is just really entertaining. And yeah, I think it's pretty awesome because the entire like snowmobile industry is extremely unique. There's just, I don't know, there's something about, the majority of sledders, really care about everybody else on the mountain, right? Like, it's just, I don't know, it's really cool to me to be able to be out with a group of people riding or whatever, and you see somebody that's stuck and everybody stops and sees, if they need help getting out or if something's broke, how can we help or whatnot. And I think that especially like in the given state of the world today, and everybody's so divided and all that crap, it's really cool to be a part of a community that cares about others like that. I think it's really cool. And so, speaking of community, like, that's part of also the reason with SledSend, is to grow that community of other individuals. And so here pretty soon too, like, as SledSend grows and we get more followers and more reach and people are more aware of us, we'll probably start doing a whole ambassador thing too. And so people that want to be an ambassador for SledSend, get some free merch and come up with some discounts or something. I have an idea of how I'm going to set it up, but I think it'll be cool to be able to bring select people on that are advocating and politicking essentially for SledSend as a whole. And that's the basis of SledSend and all of this content and all of the stuff that we're putting out, is to just build a community. That's why I honestly really kind of started it, because I just wanted to share my passion for it and expand that out to everybody else. And so, yeah, I mean, that's kind of where we're at. Obviously, this is a solo podcast, so I don't need to make it an hour long. But I just wanted to come on here and really kind of share my story a little bit about who I am and why SledSend, the purpose of it, and kind of set the tone that, we're going to be bringing on a ton of people. and doing a lot of interviews, and I want to travel around and ride at different areas, like I said earlier, and ride with guys in their local area and then bring them on the podcast. It's going to be really cool to go to a location, ride with them for the day, and then, in the evening off the mountain, set up the camera and set up the mics, and then, talk about them, interview them, but then also reflect on the day of riding, and the stories that are going to come from it. So super excited for everything to come. It's going to be a sick season. The snow everywhere has been crazy. Watching everybody on social, I mean, there's some serious snow in a lot of places that don't have that much snow typically this time of year. So it's really excited to see that. I know everybody's amped except for those of you that are still waiting on your snow check. Haha, that sucks for you. That really does suck. Obviously, I've been, paying attention. I didn't snow check one this year. So I've got my snow check from last year still. So grateful for that, to be able to still go out and ride right now. But yeah, that's unfortunate, with the way of the world and all that stuff that's going on. So hoping for you guys that your sleds will come in soon, because it's freaking time to rip. And I'm sure you guys are depressed sitting there watching everybody else out in the powder play, and you're still waiting on your sled, especially if you sold your sled and you don't have one at all and you're waiting on the new one. I'm sorry. I feel bad for you. That sucks. But yeah, so we'll wrap it up there. And yeah, stay tuned for the next one, because like I said, we're going to start bringing on a ton of people, ton of stories, ton of good information. So please, a couple of things, if you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications. Like I said, every Friday at 7 a.m. For those of you that are listening on, iTunes podcast or Spotify, wherever it is, please download and leave some reviews. If you got any value or entertainment, or, feel free to comment or leave a review on what you want to see next, or topics that we should talk about, or any of that kind of stuff. Please, leave your feedback. I am on all of the platforms and watching everything. So I reply to all the messages, all the comments. I see your guys' feedback, all that kind of stuff. Super grateful for it, for you guys to take the time to do that stuff. And please continue. Share with your buddies, and let's keep pushing this thing forward, because we're going to bring on a lot of people that are going to share a lot of important stuff and funny stuff, so it'll be entertaining. And obviously, if you haven't caught on by now, we're doing these podcasts. We're obviously doing audio, but then we're filming it too, right? So every episode is also on YouTube, but then Jeff also clips a bunch of the videos from each episode, so that we can put that on TikTok, we can put it on Instagram, all that kind of stuff, as well. So, and then the last and final thing, before I jump off here, is if you are, listening to all this and being a part of it, and you really enjoy it, and maybe you're thinking to yourself that you want to be one of those people that has a great story or has something super important that they want to share, whether it's, you've been in an avalanche or something and you want to share your story, feel free to reach out regardless of what platform you're on. If it's YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, doesn't matter, Facebook, whatever it is, shoot me a message and inquire about wanting to be on the podcast, and we can set something up. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, please subscribe, share, all that good stuff. It means a ton to me, and it helps us share the message with more people. So yeah, that's a wrap for this episode. We're going to cut it here and drop all the footage and the audio, and Jeff's going to get to work on the computer, putting it all together so that we can get this out to you guys here shortly. And hopefully we'll have enough lined up in the future so that we can get back to releasing everything on time, every Friday, 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. All right, we'll talk to you guys soon.
100K on the Protect, living life with no regrets. I can't designer when I get dressed. Summertime on winter fresh. I put her legs behind her head. Night, she gone to bed. Bye. Every day it's a new test. I just keep chasing these chicks.